Okay, guys, so I'm sure people are gonna shout robbery. Just listen and hear me out, people, please. There's so much to talk about, and you've just got to listen to what I've got to say. And this is my take, right? I'm gonna give you a different take to what everybody's gonna say. Personally, who did I score this fight for? I scored it very close. I stopped scoring towards the end, and I'd have to say I probably edged it to Kovalev by 1 round, if I'm being totally honest. Um, but this is the thing: I edged it to Kovalev by 1 round. That's my scoring. Your scoring will be what, 2 rounds? There might be some people who scored it 3 rounds or 4 rounds for Kovalev. But the thing is, when a fight is this close, you can't go on your scoring because there was a lot of rounds which were toss up rounds. Okay, when you've got toss up rounds, it can go either way, and there could be one person, and I can understand it. If you're scoring right in a manner where you're thinking Kovalev won that round, that round, that round, you might score a really wide margin for Kovalev and not be able to see that Andre Ward might be able, to win this fight on points. But I knew this is a close fight. And honestly, I was shocked when I heard the judges scoring. But look, let me scale it back, okay? Like I said, I'm just going to finish this point, right? That this was a close fight, so many toss up rounds. And at the end of the day, Andre Ward has won the fight. And in boxing history, if you go throughout boxing history, there have been a lot of close fights. And in these close fights, we see these sort of decisions where public don't agree. And I mean, Mayweather Castillo 2, um, Hearns and Leonard. So I mean, this is not this is not new to boxing. This is how boxing is. But you've got to remember, boxing is subjective. You can't go screaming robbery, robbery, robbery all the time. You've got to accept it. Canelo Alvarez versus Erislan De Lara, toss-up rounds. Just because the majority of the public who are gonna feel that Kovalev won the fight, there are gonna also be people like myself who feel that this was a toss-up fight. But to be honest, though, you'll be hard pressed to find people who actually did score this for Andre Ward. I can see where you scored this for Andre Ward, but personally, I didn't. And I think it's going to be very difficult to find people who did score the full fight for Andre Ward. But let me just say, right, I feel really disappointed for Sergey Kovalev, very upset. Did Andre Ward come and take the belt from the champion? I don't think so. I've got to be honest. The fight played out, you know what, man, that fight played out how I thought it would, but I felt that Andre Ward would be stronger, and I think that I didn't respect the weight class going in here. That's one thing. I think technically I was spot dot right, but and everything happened how I thought it would happen. But the difference in this fight was two things. One, I learned something in boxing today which I've not learned. The number one thing I learned was that anyone can be knocked down. Anyone can be knocked down. And this is the thing, we watch boxing nowadays, and sometimes you start to build this thing up in your head that certain fighters can't be knocked down, they can't be hurt. Now they're too good. Andre Ward is no exception. Floyd Mayweather is no exception. Everyone can drop. Everyone can be hurt. Everyone can lose. It is boxing. We look at boxing history, right, and we don't take lessons from it properly because we're so caught up in today's boxing. But I mean, if you look at boxing history, everyone can be dropped, and Andre Ward was dropped. Sergey Kovalev was just incredible. I give him so much credit. And this is my thing, okay? What Andre Ward did in there was, to me, inspiring. Okay, I don't want to shout robbery, and there's a big reason why. Obviously, because I think boxing is subjective, so I'm not one of them people who shouts robbery all the time. I'm under the opinion that boxing is subjective, and I like to, leave it in the judge's hands. If it's a close fight, then fair enough, and I think that was definitely a close fight. There was definitely some Ward rounds, and there was definitely some rounds which you could score for Ward. 1 point, that's how I feel like Ward won it by 1 point. If he won, I think it was by 1 point. I don't think you can give him any more than that. And this is the other thing now, right? Look, what Ward did in there, surviving a knockdown, coming back from the fight, and boxing till the 12th round, not surviving, boxing, okay, really doing well, hitting Kovalev with some hard body shots, wearing him down, and just doing what Ward does. It was just incredible to see. I think it's inspiring, and I definitely think it is the most inspiring fight that I've ever seen. You've got to say that, look, you can't. I mean, if Ward lost this fight, right? I mean, you'd all be singing the same tune that Ward is incredible that he did this, and this, and they're both prime fighters. You'd all be saying that, okay? I mean, do you know Triple G? he's just like, God, I don't even want to talk about him. I saw his face early on in the when they were showing people ringside and stuff, and I was just thinking like, who's he for that Jim Lampley is saying that the winner of this fight does not shoot to the pound for pound number one spot? I thought that was, what did Jim Lampley say? He said that whoever wins this fight will not jump to number one pound for pound spot because Triple G's there if the fighter wins through a bit of a scratch match. Something like that, he said. What kind of nonsense is that? Andre Ward has now moved to number one on the pound for pound list. He's an incredible fighter. He moved up in the weight division, fought the killer at the weight division above, survived a knockdown, and came back and won the fight. And I just think that's so inspiring. He showed grit. He showed true championship heart. And I'm just watching the highlights of this now, and I just find it incredible how Andre Ward came back in this fight and went the 12 and made it very competitive and made it a very close fight, and then he actually ended up winning. I think if Andre Ward didn't win this fight, I don't know, it wouldn't be a good ending in a way. And I think whichever way you swung it, it wasn't a good ending, because if Andre Ward lost his fight, it wouldn't, it's not a good ending, because you've got to, I feel like he deserved it because he came back. But then at the same time, I think that what happened in the ring, and speaking realistically, Kovalev deserved the fight. So I feel bad for Kovalev. I've got this thing in my heart where I actually feel bad for him. He's a Russian fighter coming over to America. Like, I feel bad for him and American judging, and I just feel bad. I feel that if Andre Ward lost the fight, he wouldn't shout robbery. But obviously Sergey Kovalev's lost the fight, so you can scream robbery. So what does that tell you? It shows you that, it looks like Kovalev won the fight, but like I said, it's a toss-up fight, really close. You gotta respect the judging. Please leave your comments in the section below. In a bit, guys.